Go with God, Alex.
Justice League assemble! Welcome, friends.
Yeah. That's what
the
they
intro.
do.
Yep. Welcome, friends, to another episode of Spoiled. I think this is spoiled. We're spoiling everything. Hello. We are talking about Justice League, the Snyder Cut. Zack Snyder's Justice League, the Snyder Cut. Director's cut. There's a whole lot of stuff going on. I'm Alex Stadnik. Joined with me today, Liana Ruppert and Marcus Stewart. Friends, how are you?
Let's talk about slow-mo.
No more slow-mo ever. We're canceling slow-mo the rest of the year.
Definitely got my quota.
Yeah.
I'm doing good. 4 hours later, feeling all right about some Justice League.
We survived it. We
did it.
We were some of the brave GIers who assembled to watch Justice League. I wish we watched it together, but we did not. And we're going to give you our full spoilerific thoughts. So if you haven't seen it, and a lot of people are waiting to the weekend, we'll be here. Come back. It'll be great. It'll be a talk with your friends. I want to kick things off, though, with how you guys felt about the first movie, and then in comparison with the Snyder Cut, like what you thought, like that way. So, Liana, if we want to start with you.
The original movie, when I left watching that, I felt like it was very unfinished. It seemed very convoluted. It seemed very like, oh my God, the space wizard did it. Like it didn't really, fit in with the Batman verse vibe. Like I grew up on the comics when I worked at comicbook.com. Like we did a lot with those comic arcs. Like I love how that universe is set up, and Whedon just really kind of screwed the pooch on it. Like he really didn't have it almost felt like he didn't know who these characters were. Like he treated like Flash and Cyborg like they were almost an afterthought. And I remember thinking that when I was watching it, and then it was really apparent to me watching the Snyder Cut just how much he just doesn't understand these characters and their relation to each other. So yeah, like my overall impression was very impressed. Was it good?
We'll get into that, but
yeah.
You enjoyed it much more. Marcus, how about you?
Oh, I thought that first movie was trash.
Yeah, straight
up.
I
hated that thing, and I hated Batman versus Superman. I'm mixed on Man of Steel. Suicide Squad, I hated too.
Oof,
so I hated a lot of those DC like Wonder Woman was the only one that I really liked in that like stretch of the DC cinematic universe. And yeah, Justice League, I remember being in the theater and I didn't expect it to be amazing because like Batman vs Superman was garbage, and I was like, I don't know why this would be better, because they're rushing the formula that Marvel perfected. And it's like, oh, like half of these characters we're trying to introduce for the first time in this film. It doesn't work well because you're not used to them. It's like, yeah, I know who they are being a comic book fan, but I don't know these incarnations of them. And I wish I did. And, like everything Liana said, it felt like a lot of the characters were misunderstood. Batman in particular, where they tried to make him comedic in some of the scenes, which was so off-putting. And that first movie's a disaster. It's a different kind of bad from Batman versus Superman, but also bad.
It is soulless to me, especially after seeing this now. So I actually, and I hope this doesn't affect our friendship, Marcus, I liked BVS better than I think a lot of people did. I think I like some of the ideas, some of the visuals in that movie were really good. But it never. Did
you like it better than me as a person?
No, you're
we're fine then.
You are the Dark Knight of people.
Thank you. Yeah. That's wow. Okay, I'll take that.
That's the tier you are in. You too.
Wow.
Not just
which version of Dark Knight though? That's because that could be an insult depending on which version.
The Chris Nolan gem.
Okay. Then it's a compliment.
The goat of superhero movies. Liana, you're my Infinity War. Don't you worry.
Thanks.
So, I at least, and it's kind of like my rationale with like also Prometheus versus Alien Covenant, the Alien movies or whatever. I didn't think BVS was fantastic, but I respected that it had a vision and it was going for something, right? Whereas when Justice League came out, it felt like this soulless corporate cash grab that just was there because they knew superheroes were big and they were trying to make money, right? And as time went on, I hated it even more and even more. Every time I thought, it made me angry. When I thought about it. Not as angry as Martha did, but that's a whole other story. Which absolutely shocked me how much I enjoyed this movie. I had I think, Marcus, we had talked about it before. I rolled my eyes every time I heard Snyder Cut because I was like, there's no way they could fix this train wreck, right? And I just thought that was baked into its DNA. And whilst this will not be at the Academy Awards next year, I cannot believe how much I enjoyed this. And it has changed my perception so much. There's a level of heart and soul in this now that I can't believe is there, right? So let's we can jump into it now. I guess where do we want to start? I don't really want to recap, but I thought let's start at the beginning. Yeah,
let's start at the beginning because I feel like the beginning area sets the tone for the rest of the movie. Let's talk about how wildly different the beginning sequences were between the two movies. For me, with the original Justice League, Whedon didn't really have any contrast with the story. It was just, you have this happier type of beginning, I guess, not so stark, not so grim. And he doesn't really provide any nuance for the mother box, which I feel like Snyder really, hearing Superman's dying cry echo throughout the world, really set the tone for the entire film, I thought. And that also set up the narrative surrounding around the mother boxes too, because with what Whedon, it was the space wizard, the boxes are lit, Gondor calls for aid. Versus Snyder was no, there's actually a reason why, that there was an interaction and these are suddenly activated. Yeah. And I felt throughout the entire movie, he had that vision in mind and he built upon it and built upon it. Sometimes unnecessarily so, but it's the uncut version. But he kept that vision in mind versus Whedon in his version. It just kind of felt like he kept forgetting where he was going with things. Mm-hmm. And it was just boxes, right, glowing, bad. Mm-hmm. There's things with that. Cyborg has something to do with it, and we'll figure it out later.
We don't care because superheroes, yay, they're fighting. It's great.
Yeah. The Greeks warned us about Darkseid, it turns out.
Yeah, they did. I definitely think it sets the tone better. The beginning was the hardest part for me, actually, because I felt like it was the most self-indulgent with some of the very long panning shots and stuff like that. And I love good cinematography. I love all that, but there is a certain point where you go overboard with it, and especially when Bruce is going to meet Arthur, Aquaman, for the first time. I'm bro, this is beautiful. I love it. This is great. Come on, let's get it going. So initially I was oh, is this going to be this entire movie? But I actually think the pacing gets much better towards once things start to pick up.
Speaking of, what do you think? Why did she huff his sweater? Speaking of the sequence with Batman.
That was weird.
Right? Okay. I'm glad I wasn't the only one because they did the song and the farewell. And
it was weird. Yeah.
And I was this is kind of cult-like. They all kind of look dead. And this looks like they're worshiping him. But okay, I could kind of see the cultural tie-in. And then she just picks up the sweater and sniffs it. I'm
here's my thing though. Here's my only thing with that. If Jason Momoa left his sweater around me, I'd probably pick it up and smell it too.
But you sniff his panties?
Yeah.
You would sniff his panties?
Yeah. My girlfriend and I watched it and I was man, I would let him do whatever he wanted to me. When he first took that sweater off, he is a gorgeous man. Yes. Anywho, I felt like I was watching Midsummer in that scene, but anyways. Marcus, what were you going to say?
I think I think that first hour and a half is the probably the roughest stretch of that movie because it's where all the setup is, and it takes a very long time because of it's uncut. And there were parts where I was almost kind of, maybe because I watched it right after a full day of work, where I was nodding off a little bit. They were just all right, this needs to pick up the pace, but I know that's not what this movie's about because it's another slow-mo sequence. All right, well, this is getting annoying. This is just a football game. Can we just see the football game?
For real? Yeah.
He's I don't need to see the beads of sweat flying off of Cyborg's opponents.
Yeah.
But he wants us to. But I will say the thing that it was weird watching this because having seen Aquaman since then and I mean, Aquaman's the only one that's gotten filmed since then, but it's like, okay, like I kind of liked him more because I know what Aquaman spent time building him up as just his own character. And I remember watching this the first time and just kind of resenting the fact that I was like, this is how they're introducing him. Like, I want to get to know him, but we don't really have time because it was so rushed. And so like having the benefit of seeing Aquaman and to go back to this, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, Arthur, hell yeah, let's do it. Yeah. And the other thing I noticed, and this is kind of throughout the film, is that it's a lot less comedic in a good way.
Yes.
Like, from what I understand, like none of the scenes that Joss Whedon shot are in this at all.
Thank God.
And like knowing, being able to know exactly which ones were his. Like I was like waiting for stuff like, is that going to be in here still? And you're like, no. Yeah. Like Batman on the ground, be like, ugh.
Or that like, or the one family left in that town that just like they had to save instead of weird stuff like that. Yeah.
And that made me take it more seriously too, and like get into it of like, I don't need this to be overly dark. Like I felt like Batman versus Superman went a bit too much in that dark direction, and I felt like this movie as a whole hit like a kind of a happy medium of like, it feels like its own thing, and it's not trying to chase Marvel's formula, which works for them, without being like, overly like grim dark, Superman, look at him, or whatever.
Yeah.
Did anyone think noises?
I need to get this off my chest. Did anyone think it was super weird when Flash rescued that lady? When the lady that gets in the car accident, and anyone else that it was like really odd for him to kind of admire this woman?
We had this talk earlier. That's funny that you say that.
I laughed out loud during that scene of like, what is happening? This is so weird and kind of creepy.
Liana had a good point though.
This is actually, I'm laughing. I'm so laughing because I feel the exact opposite. That's actually probably my favorite part of this movie for two reasons.
Okay.
One, it's cool when you keep in mind that she's actually his future fiance. So like that sequence is kind of a cool like foreshadowing. Yeah, for those that don't know, like it's kind of a weird sequence, kind of a cool little Easter egg for people that do know. But more than that, like I really like the fact that it introduced him. Like especially for people that are watching and may not be as immersed in the DC universe, both the comics and the movies. To me, it was very overdone. Like it didn't need to be as long and as dramatic as with that slow-mo. But like they had him play up this more like almost Tom Holland like Flash of like kind of goofy, dorky, a little bit socially awkward. They played to that character archetype. So to have this super serious moment with like weenies flying around.
That's why I was laughing. That's why I thought that was funny, because there's supposed to be this romantic thing. He's saving her, and there's freaking hot dogs flying around
like
in the air.
DMs.
Yeah.
Like that's like what our DMs look like.
That's what I thought too. I was like, is my mind in the gutter? Because like this feels suggestive of like he's like this lady's literally like the last like split second of her life, basically. Yeah. And he's just like, oh man, you're so pretty. And then a hot dog slowly comes into frame. And I was like, what does this mean?
I love how he just casually plucks it too. Like, I'll just go to take that.
The whole time I'm just like, save her. Like you can buy her later, like, save her.
I felt like that scene right there is like perfectly reflective of what his approach was, because what Whedon did, and this is going to turn into me just trashing Whedon, I have a feeling, and I don't mean to do that, but like for me, again, harkening back to what we said earlier about Whedon kind of not understanding the characters, not understanding their motivations, and therefore not being able to anticipate how they would react in certain scenarios. That was very much reflected with this scene in particular, because in his version, in the original Justice League, Cyborg and Flash both are treated so poorly. There's no introduction. And like you mentioned with Aquaman, like there's no introduction to these characters. There's no time to learn these introduction. But when you know you have that much of a condensed timeline, it is your responsibility as a creative director in a creative position to hone in those certain plot points to make it make sense. And this is a perfect indication of that, because we got an idea of who he is and what his powers are, how he relates to his powers. Cyborg, the football scene was really freaking weird, but it gave you an insight into this like perfect jock boy history. And then it also
it's really good.
Yeah,
stuff with the mom.
Let's jump into Cyborg, because at the core of this movie, and I think that's why that first movie is so astounding to me even now. I think this is a Cyborg movie. I think this, like, they very much position him. Snyder positions Cyborg as the key to all of this. Like, he is the one who can enter the Unity. You know what I mean? He is basically guiding this trip when even Batman doesn't even know what like to do sometimes. Like, there's such, and not only on a thematic level, right, but like on an emotional level. Like, I think that first movie was hollow as hell. I didn't give, Batman's my favorite hero. I didn't give a shit about any of them, right? But like, Cyborg's story, whilst maybe somewhat predictable, right? We've seen the tragic superhero origin story, really grounded this in a way that I was not expecting. And like, I understand Ray Fisher's anger now, the actor. Like, I imagine having a movie so centered on you that you are an afterthought in when it gets through post. Like,
did you like the parallels between him and Flash? How they had the father storyline, like at the same time in those final moments? Like, I
didn't even
Flash,
pick up on that. Yeah,
that's probably one of my favorite moments. Like when he's like in the time and he's fixing everything, alien technology, and this is his paramount moment. But he needs the Flash. Flash has to rewind time in order for him to do what he wants to do. And both of them, like Cyborg has that sequence with his family all whole and put together. He looks like, pre-accident.
Yeah.
And he has this temptation of like, I could have what I've always wanted. And the fact that he looks right in the camera and says, I'm not alone anymore. And then it pans back to a shot of a suicide prevention billboard. That was such a powerful moment for mental health. But then in the same sequence, on the flip side, in the real world, when Flash is doing his thing, he's doing his whole monologue with his father. And that parallel between those two characters, that scene alone did more than the entire original movie did for either one of those characters. And that parallel was just beautiful.
Yeah.
I think this movie, the biggest thing that surprised me was that it made me like this version of Flash more, because I hated Flash in the first movie. And I'm still not the biggest, like, I don't love the Ezra Miller interpretation of the Flash. Like, it's a little too goofy for me, like, especially for like Barry Allen. It's a little bit too much at times. When he brings it down, it's better, but there's times it's a little too over the top. But the expanded story, but like his dad, especially the end scene when he, tells him like, hey, I got the job at the police place. And like, because I remember that scene, it just kind of cuts there in the original film. But like the extended scene where like his dad is like losing it and stuff, and he's just like crying and telling the guards like, my boy.
Yeah.
Like, I remember like legitimately getting emotional. Like, yeah, good job. And that's another reason that this film works, is just like, it just makes you care about these characters so much more the first time around, even ones that you might have hated.
Yeah. And I think this really, especially when compared to something like the last Star Wars movie, let's say, like, I think this did it overkill, where it's like this movie gave moments like time to breathe, which is important. Too much so. 4 hours is too much. But, to like a prime example, I always think about spoilers for the last Star Wars movie. Like when Chewbacca dies, right? Like the ship blows up, Rey gives and then we cut to the next scene, and there's no time to like process what just happened. There's no time to be with a character when like, an iconic figure died, right?
Yeah, and then he comes back 5 minutes later.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, it was like, shut up, Chewbacca's not, get that out of here, Chewbacca's not dead. But in this, like, you do get those moments, probably too slow at time, to like really grieve with Cyborg that his dad is dead, or that he sacrificed himself. You know what I mean? Like, we actually got those moments, and it really brought this to a new level, like in a shocking way.
Yeah, it's did you guys what'd you guys think of the Superman stuff? Like, because he's like, by virtue of this being a longer movie, he's like in it less because he didn't have like the biggest role in the original cut, just because the story, that's just how it's being told.
Yeah.
But the stuff with like Superman and Lois and his mother, like, the scene where like Martha goes to see Lois, that wasn't in the original cut, right?
It was different. Lois was at the Bugle. Or not the Bugle, the Daily Planet, yeah. Lois was at the Daily Planet, and she was at work, and she was, because I was scrolling through the original Justice League, like when I couldn't sleep last night, just like to pick it up. And I think if I remember right, they were more, Lois was more like, I'm working to try to forget, where in this she was like, I haven't been to work since he died. Like, and I am grieving, and this
barely
is
a person.
awful. Yeah. Well, and then obviously, you know, in that scene, Martha turns into Martian Manhunter, which
Martha Manhunter,
Manhunter, which no mention of at all in that first movie.
Yeah, so like, I guess in this world, I guess it's a known thing that Lois and Superman were together, like it is usually in the comics, and I guess in the animated universe too. And I was like, how would he know that I need to go to this woman's house and give her a pick-me-up of sorts? I mean, I know he's a telepath too, but it's like, how would he? I
was gonna say, I think that, and which we'll get more into the end game here in a bit, but I think the end scene kind of shows that he's been paying attention, right? He's been watching these heroes.
What you guys think of him, like, design-wise?
Superman? I don't understand.
Martian. Martian Manhunter. Like, just, you look pretty cool, right? Like his design?
I am so used. Sorry, go ahead, Liana.
No, go ahead. You know me, I talk way too much.
I'm so used to his design from the animated series, where he has a little bit more boxy Eastern Island head, right? Where this, it was like almost a normal human head. So I was like, I have to get used to this, but it's good. It's like, objectively, I like it. It's solid. I'm so I love Martian Manhunter from the animated series. He offers this tranquil calm to that team that is needed, and that guidance, but also isn't afraid to face through walls and you know, beat the crap out of the bad guy. And I love him. So I'm just excited that he's actually in this. So I was in on the design.
That just brings up like the whole design feature to the Snyder Cut anyway. Like Steppenwolf, we saw how we saw that, we knew it was coming, but to see it in action, it made the entire first movie just look like a low budget version. They ran out of budget. I'm
gonna hit you with some spice. I think this glow up for Steppenwolf is almost rival to the Sonic glow up. Like the changes in that. I watching that the first Justice League movie. Steppenwolf looks like the dumbest dude I've ever seen. Like, it looks like he's like a bad cosplay. And
he's like the hillbilly, like we said earlier, the hillbilly cousin named Earl. That's what he looks like.
Yeah. And I think, but that's also, I think, really indicative of, we were talking about Flash and Cyborg a lot. Steppenwolf was a good villain now. Like, I thought he was trash in that first one, but like that
he has like depth, a little bit more depth of like, he's trying to prove himself, because I guess he betrayed Darkseid at some point.
Yeah, like, his uncle. That's my only gripe with the changes he made to Steppenwolf, is like, he kind of made him look like a little bit of a coward. Like, his entire arc centered around pleasing Darkseid and getting back in his good graces, and it came off sometimes as very like, yes sir, please sir, let me kiss your boots sir, and it was weird because he was this big badass, like he, like, you remember that movie, I can't remember, it's been 30 years since I watched it, but the movie where it's like the little homeless kid and he's like, or the orphan, and he's like, please can I have another?
Oliver Twist?
Yeah, that's what he was like. Like, it was, weird.
I think that's kind of Darkseid's thing though, right? And I think that kind of emphasizes how scary he is that he has this army of like legit badasses that on their own can easily conquer a planet, and they grovel to him. Yeah, like they become little kids to him. So you're like, if this guy is like this, then I don't want to see his boss.
The big bad.
Yeah. I'm not sold on that though. I mean, I do get it. Like, and for the most part, it was done really well. But like, I feel like, and maybe we would have seen it if Snyder version made it, and they had to do cuts anyway. Maybe it would have been a little bit more cohesive. But I felt like it was just very unbalanced. Like it just didn't fit right. I mean, and I get it, but like, if you didn't know the characters, you wouldn't really know his relation to Darkseid. You wouldn't know any of that. And I feel like he leaned a little bit too much, because I do agree with you. I think that's why Snyder did it that way, to be like, look how powerful he is. Yeah. But I feel like he did it in a way that was a little bit too obvious, if that makes sense. That's like fair. I feel like there could have been a little bit more context and nuance.
Emasculated him a little bit.
Kind of, yeah. Like, it just, and I don't know. He's such a badass character. You can show fear and reverence without being a little worm. Like, I don't know. Yeah.
What'd you guys think of Darkseid? This was his debut. The little Darkseid's little wizard guy that he kept talking to. Yeah. It was like his go-between.
I didn't know. I don't know much about that character, so it didn't really hit for me personally.
Okay, I was like,
I liked it
design-wise. Yeah,
I thought it was kind of cool.
He doesn't do like a ton. He kind of just does his job of like, I'm like his bouncer basically on his filter.
Yeah,
maybe I'll patch you through to him. I don't know. But I think Darkseid in general, like. I like his design. I don't really like his weird chest, but
yeah,
I kept looking at that. And it's like someone like punched him so hard in the chest. What happened there?
Yeah.
There were some angles where he looked almost exactly like Thanos too. Like I kept laughing.
Yeah. Well,
Thanos is in DC now.
Well, I mean, Thanos was created pretty much as a ripoff of Darkseid, so that makes sense.
Fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I was weirdly expecting him to be bigger. Like, I don't know. He seemed like I feel like I needed a little bit more girth out of my Darkseid, but that's just me.
I think the battle scene, but when he's like fighting like the original big war, he's like fighting Zeus and Ares and stuff, which was really cool.
That was unreal.
Yeah. I was like, this is awesome. It was weird seeing him get his ass kicked early on. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yo, and what's with these gods with axes not going for the head? Like, we know this at this point. Go for the head. It saves you a lot of trouble down the road, but no, we always go for the shoulder shot on our demon evil people. I get
That's a good point. Wonder Woman made up for it at the end with Steppenwolf. She learned her lesson from her gods.
That was a segue I was hoping for. Can we talk about Wonder Woman for a second?
Yeah. Great.
I got thoughts. Sorry, chat. Sorry, readers/watchers. Okay. And I know because I'm the woman in the group saying this, that people are probably be like, oh my God, shut up. Not everything's about gender. But like, can we just talk about how much more Snyder respected Wonder Woman as a character? Like, Josh, she's this powerful badass. It's, thousands of years of experience under her belt. And she's always, and even in the comics, she's always had this tension, and that's behind the creation of the character to start with. So that's going to be there. But freaking Josh, I keep saying Josh. It sounds like Josh. I'm saying Josh, but I guess I have like a lisp or something. But anyway, like there was just all these like moments to be like, look, there's sexual tension. Like if you have to call attention to it, you're not doing it well. Like, when she, who was it? Was it Flash when he like shoves her out of the way and he's like on her boobs and like they're heavy panting? And then in the original movie of Justice League, that final fight when he's Steppenwolf gets his ass just obliterated. In the original cut, she's just standing there breathing really heavy and dramatic and you got to get that shot where you can see the chest weaving. And in freaking Snyder's cut, he's like, no, this bitch has a score to settle. She's got people to avenge. So she goes running up, seeing like one last opportunity just to flip him off, and she just right with the head.
Good.
Like such a powerful shot. And like
I like the back and forth with her and Steppenwolf. Like he was only like kind of trolling her, like, oh yeah, I murdered your people. Where were you?
Yeah.
Kind of playing up that history and like again like lore building and stuff. And you're like, oh okay, like I like this kind of like this focus of like, oh I know you better than most of these people by virtue of being an Amazon. So I'm just gonna like rub it in.
Yeah. And I think those were that end scene at Steppenwolf's base, I think was the only time the CGI, or excuse me, the slow-mo was really justified. Like that shot of her wielding the sword, coming down and chopping his head off was unreal. And there was a couple of scenes in the Batmobile where I was like, okay, if I wasn't so tired of this by now, this would be unreal. I had one, going back to Darkseid real quick, I did have one thing that I wanted to either make fun of or run by you guys, because maybe I should understand it. How the hell did Darkseid forget where he left the antimatter? The thing that controls his power and his control of the universe, he just forgets? What's happening there?
You've never misplaced your anti-life equation.
No, I forgot it on Mars the other day. But like, none of the parademons who survived were like, okay, guys, Earth, we need to remember this planet. No, that never happened. We just lost it for thousands of years. Like, I was like, all right.
did I misunderstand? Because like at least in this film version, I thought, did he have it at one time and lose it? I thought he never had and has just been looking for it.
Oh, maybe that's it.
Because like if he had it, he would have like used it already.
But then how did Steppenwolf like figure out that it was there?
See, that was one of the parts of the movie I was like, huh? Because he does that flashback where he like digs his hand through the sand like Dragon Ball style, and then he hits the earth, and then somehow he's like, oh, it's here. And I was like,
but that's the exact same thing Darkseid did in the
same
war.
Symbol, on the ground. And I was maybe because Darkseid was like in the heat of battle when he did that, because it was during that giant fight, so you couldn't really look at it like, oh, there it is, because I got Zeus and Ares coming at me. I don't know.
It seems unclear. Someone in the comments let us know if we're misinterpreting, but like that was the only one where I was like, oh, that is a big old hole that I am not going to get over.
I feel like because we all watched it really late too. Like all of us watched it after work, where we were already kind of like brain fried at that point. Because there was a couple times where I had to rewind a little bit. Like, wait, I'm missing something like really important here. But
you got axed in the shoulder. You forget some stuff.
That's true. Yeah. I think this is a good time to talk about any other. I think we should wrap up any other gripes or highlights that we have before we get into the epilogue. If you guys are cool with that.
Yeah. So Superman.
Oh yeah.
Don't like the black suit.
Whoa.
I don't either. That's literally what I was saying earlier. Of like, are you talking about the black suit? Like, why? Why?
Like it. Yeah, that's one of the additions. Like I'm not even like a huge Superman fan. I like him, but I'm not like, whoa, Superman. But when I want to see Superman, I want the big blue Boy Scout. I want the blue and the red and the yellow. And so for his triumphant return to like, black, like it's just like often like that's not. And then I'm like hoping like maybe he'll change it. Like I thought when he went to see Alfred, like maybe Alfred would be like, oh, so that's not the Superman this world needs, or something like that.
Yeah. No, I agree completely. That was literally my first thought when I saw it. I was like, why? Like there's no. I get it. It's supposed to show like he's different now. Like he's not the Superman we know, but like. You're already doing that with the plot. You don't need to have the e-girl goth latex skin suit too. Like it doesn't fit in. It felt very random. There was no like.
There's no explanation, like he doesn't go like, this is the suit that I need because of like, and I know it has a comic book connection. I don't remember what it is because again, I'm not the biggest Superman guy, but I know there's a comic book thing.
Snyder,
but you have to connect it.
Yeah, the film doesn't explain. He just kind of randomly picks it. You're like, why?
To the point where, okay, so like I said, my partner is not the biggest superhero fan. Like I'm still trying to get him into comics. I bought him like 20 comics, hoping like I think these are what you're gonna like. Do you like me? But even he was like, wait, is this like, do we need to turn the because he thought it was a glitch. Like he thought maybe our brightness was and I was like, that is not the reaction you want to have from your audience. Oh, did I screw up my brightness settings on my TV?
It's only on Superman.
Good. Yeah.
And there is a comic connection, but like, yeah, he didn't do a good job at explaining or giving any. You don't have to be like, in issue number this is what happens, but you can provide some kind of a context. Even just a line from another member and be like, oh, new suit. Like,
here's how you fix it. Russell Crowe in his monologue talking to him is like, this is the suit our people wore when we need extra energy from the sun or something like that. You know what I mean? To like boost him back up. He's been dead for a while. Something. I actually love the suit because I love the symbiote suit for Spider-Man. I love when you get that like stark black and white. I love it. So I was down for it. But I understand, right? I just wanted to see the suit, right? So I wasn't caring if I needed explanation. But Snyder, I don't know what it is either, but Snyder did say there is a reason they wanted to go black suit. But you're right, they did not explain it well.
Yeah, I was even mad at the end when he's in reporter mode and I was like, damn it, he's still wearing it. I thought he would have switched by then to the classic suit.
Yeah.
That was such a cheesy like scene too. I get it. It's like
I love that though.
Like comic book nod, but like I just picture like, I don't know if it's just because I'm a woman and I have boobs, but I was just like, he's just like titties. The way he just, I feel like they could have cut it like maybe half a second earlier and it would have been perfect, but it stayed just a little too long, so it just kind of looked awkward. Like you see the moment he runs into the camera, and it's just kind of weird.
Tackles the cameraman.
Yeah. The cameraman's like, I got Henry Cavill's titties. Like, sweet.
I would be down for that. Yeah.
Actually, there's a big elephant in the room. What'd you guys think of the aspect ratio?
So we actually. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. No, you guys had this big discourse about it yesterday.
So I am very much in the camp of, I think 4:3 is interesting when you're trying to convey a certain sense in the film, a certain feeling in the film, like Lighthouse, for instance, if anyone's seen it, with Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson, that's incredible. Go watch it. If you're going for an old-timey, like creepy, like old school film vibe, I'm for it, but it feels like it needs to hit a purpose. And while it didn't bother me after the first like 30 minutes of the movie, it did feel out of place, right? We're watching these modern demigods we're all just like overindulging in CGI, right? This is a modern film. I didn't feel the need to have that. I get he was probably trying to make a commentary on like old like epics like Lawrence of Arabia, or like he's trying to position himself that way. It just didn't feel needed in that way.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt too. And maybe because I'm not like a cinema snob or aficionado, but just the whole time I got used to it. It's 4 hours, so you kind of have to. But the whole time, I just felt like I don't know what I'm getting out of this. Yeah. Like, just fill the damn screen, or make it widescreen. Like, I like widescreen, but it's like I don't understand why this is supposed to look better.
Yeah.
So I have OCD, so like that I knew that was gonna drive me up the wall. Sorry, bleep.
Damn, I think I do have to bleep that one. Damn it.
I'm sorry. The freaking anyways, so I knew it was gonna bother me because I can't stand. I would have fixated that the whole time. If anybody who's watching this did not watch it yet, which I don't know why you're here because we spoiled a lot, but if you are still here with us, watch it on a projector. A projector, like that's what we did, and it made sense. Like that was perfect for that, because when you have the normal ratio, sometimes with the projectors it'll stretch it out too much, or it'll get a little bit fuzzy, and those dimensions are just perfect.
To that point,
I gotta watch the projector cut.
I do wonder,
Snyder Cut.
Yeah, in theaters, then I wonder if that would have made more sense, which unfortunately none of us could see it in theaters. This would have been a good theater movie. My last critiques before we get into the post game here is, whilst not nearly as abhorrent as the 2017 cut, some of the CG was just plain awful. That first scene with Steppenwolf, the mother boxes, and Lex, where it literally like he was just standing in like you could almost see the green screen. I would have almost preferred they just showed him on a green screen compared to like that first shot. I couldn't believe how bad it was. And then I thought the entire fight between the Justice League and Superman was off. Like the CG was awful, and it's just very, very apparent that.
Did you think that the first time? Because that was one of the scenes where it was largely the same. Mm-hmm. They just kind of took out the stupid parts from that scene.
Yeah. But
the fight itself was pretty much the same. Did you think that back then, or?
It didn't stand out to me as much as the end fight in that first movie. The end fight in the first movie is awful, like CGI wise. Yeah. It is terrible, terrible, terrible. And I don't know if it's time, budget changes. I'm not there. We don't know, right? But I just noticed it. I think I noticed it more this time because there were so many more moments of like. And I think a lot of it has to do with the color palette too that they chose, because if you go back to the original, it is bubblegum cartoon, like everything's bright and we're having fun. We're just fighting with Steppenwolf, but it's great. No, boo. Whereas I think the way this was shot was more conducive to a little bit bleaker color palette, and maybe that's why I didn't notice it as bad as much. But yeah.
Awesome. It's still nice to know that Superman being able to see the Flash in the Speed Force is still low-key one of the most terrifying things I've ever seen.
When he just slowly turns the head. You knew it was coming too, but it's like, come on.
And I like it's like Ezra's face of like this never happens. Like I remember in the theater being like, that's legitimately terrifying. Like I don't know. I'm like, if I was the Flash, I'd be like, I don't know what to do here.
Yeah.
So I'm glad they retained that.
Yeah.
I feel like DC movies in recent years all kind of find into that trope though. Like the one thing I'm not going to be like, oh my God, I love Marvel movies so much better, because it's apple and oranges. I kind of feel like it's an unfair comparison. But like one thing I will say Marvel does a lot better in context to recent years is CGI. I feel like DC CGI is mostly always bad. I mean, there's the exceptions, and end of Batman versus Superman, I feel like that CGI was done pretty well, but it just feels so fake, which it's part of the charm. It's the comic book, trope thing, and it goes a part of the aesthetic, but it just sometimes it does feel like, wow.
It's draining, and I think it has a lot of the same problems that like Phantom Menace has, where it's like after a while this doesn't feel real. And I know I don't need Martin Scorsese directing my superhero flicks, but like you have to at some point make me feel like this is a real space, which we talked about earlier, Cyborg was a piece of that grounded this, right? But yeah, it gets a little old after a while. I'm much more of a practical effects guy.
It's that Snyder style. It's like, it's not even just the CG, it's just the presentation. Everything is overly artsy and like lit up in a way like, let's make this really foggy and yellow and lightning and slowed motion. So it's like overly stylized. Yeah. And that was my criticism. That's my criticism with a lot of his films of like, this is a little too much, right? Yeah, it just feels like a living animatic than like a live action film. Yeah. And like, again, it works to an extent sometimes, but then there's times where, like you said earlier, Alex, where it feels a little overindulgent. Yeah. Whereas like Marvel doesn't really do that. Like they just CG the things that need to be CG, but like that's not like, it's not suffocating. No. In a way that Snyder's style tends to be in all of his films, really.
Yeah.
And I would imagine too, it helps having a Disney budget, right? Like all things. Like if these guys had the Disney budget, especially on like the extended cut, because WB only gave them a certain amount of money to finish this, right? I would imagine, because WB has seemed to be a little bit more not close-fisted with budgets, but like, we're hitting this date, we have to do it this way, this is going out this way. You know what I mean? Where I feel like
we can't get CG, we got CG at home.
Yeah. Yeah. So I would imagine budget and time has a lot to do with that, because I'm sure if you ask the animators and the CG artists, they'd say the same thing, that they just needed more time, and I just need time and money.
There's a Arthur Morgan.
I have a plan. Yeah. So I guess we've been putting it off. Let's talk about the end game, the epilogue, which to me was awesome and frustrating all at the same time.
So the epilogue was weird because like around the last like 30 minutes of the actual film, like before credits, I was like, I remembered, I was like, wait, isn't Joker supposed to be in this? Yep. Like, what happened to that scene? And then I was like legitimately thinking like, oh my God, did they cut a scene from the uncut movie? And I was like ready to bust out laughing, and I was waiting for like, I don't know where you shoved that in at this point, because it's like this giant fight happening, and it probably should have happened. And then no, it's that epilogue. And like, so like the epilogue is basically an expanded version of Bruce's Nightmare.
Spelled with a K.
Oh yes, Bruce's Nightmare. Yeah. And it's like a post-apocalyptic future where Darkseid, because like we see the thing at the end where Darkseid, they beat him, they destroy the mother boxes, and Dassad's like, oh, what are we gonna do now? And he's like, well, do it the old-fashioned way, get the ships ready. So it's like, okay, they're gonna just fly there, which is probably gonna take a while. And then the epilogue is like, oh, I guess they're here, and they kicked everyone's ass, it turns out. And Superman is evil now because Lois died.
Which was warned. Mm-hmm. That was warned. And this gives us context for that warning, because there was really no context for that warning when Flash popped through Bruce's computer and he was like, Lois is the key! Yeah. And you don't really know why.
If you don't, like, hello, sir.
Yeah, nice to meet you too.
I'm glad he brought that up in the movie too, when he like looks at Flash and it's like, I saw this guy in my freaky vision. I probably should address that. Yeah. But yeah, so like, and what's also weird is that this came after the original movie's post-credit stinger, but Lex Luthor meeting with Deathstroke.
Yeah, and presumably to start the Legion of Doom, right? Like that's kind of where things were progressing.
yeah, they're going to go after the tag titles, and they were like, we can do the Doomsday device, and I'll put you on my shoulders. And
I know he's doing a wrestling thing. I'm not tracking, but I'm going to laugh and nod anyways.
So yeah, like he tells Deathstroke Batman's identity, which originally was supposed to set up a sequel or some sort of. I think it was supposed to be Ben Affleck Batman film, right? Or was it?
There was two sequels following this up.
Because wasn't Matt Reeves' The Batman originally with Affleck?
Yeah.
Didn't they write the script together?
Yeah, like he was gonna star and write or produce it and direct it. Yeah. And then, obviously that fell apart. But I assumed it was gonna follow off of this. And so they put that teaser still in here. Like you see that, and it's weird because it jumps straight to the epilogue where we get the Nightmare vision and you see Batman teaming up with just this hodgepodge of guest survivors, where it's like him, an older Flash, Mira, like Aquaman's wife, and then Deathstroke.
Yep.
And it's weird because it's like we set up that they're going to fight, and then we jump to the future where they're like working together.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, okay.
What is happening?
I don't even.
Yeah.
He's also got a sweet mohawk.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
He did look really cool. I don't know. For me, I really liked. I liked the idea, because I do want a movie like that. I do want the Nightmare sequence film. I want to see Joker and Batman team up. I want to see that arc on film in live action. I don't like a lot of the direction, though, from what we've learned of Snyder's would-be 2 films that are no longer happening. But what we've learned about those, I didn't really necessarily like the direction he was taking it, and I didn't think he could, not to be rude, but I didn't think he could really do it justice. Zing! And but I did like seeing, because Whedon's version didn't really touch Darkseid. It was just like, he's there, but Snyder really dives deep into deeper in comparison, I guess, to who Darkseid is, why he's the big bad, why he's this godlike dominating force. And I did like that. But the one thing I didn't like is, it was very there was no cohesion with the epilogue and tying into the movie. We can chalk this up to just being uncut. I don't know. I don't think we would have seen that sequence happen the way it did if his final version did get trimmed down for a movie, movie scenario or whatever. But I feel like the problem I really had with it is the fact that in the original movie, they both have this narrative where Superman returns to being the good guy. But again, this ties into Whedon not really understanding the characters, is he just kind of was content with, he's good now, everything's fine, he's the protector, Superman's got your back, homie's yes. Versus Snyder, he set up the same conclusion where, okay, Superman is back to being the good guy we all know and love. The difference is with the creative direction that he had, the nuance, the conversations with characters, the silent looking off into the distance scene, it all plays a bigger part into the much bigger picture of who Superman is in all these alternate universes, who he could become, who he has been, where is he going to go next. And for me, even though they both were kind of restored his role as that epitome of safety and protection, Snyder made a point to be okay, he's on your good side now, but that could change. He can shift at any moment, and just because he shifted back to the good side now does not mean that that's where he's going to stay for the rest of your knowledge in relation to this character in the DCU universe. And I liked that because I feel like that opens it up, because Batman, guys, anybody who's watching this, if you don't read the comics, Batman has so many incredible branching story arcs. It is unreal. The directions they've taken that character, the directions they've taken Superman. Both of these characters have gone through pivotal shifts throughout their creational evolution. And I feel like if anybody was going to do it, Snyder could do that evolution justice. That being said, I want to see a continuation of Snyder Cut. However, I really liked it. I like how he set it up. I like that he respected the characters. I want to see a sequel to this. I don't want to see Snyder directing it.
Oh.
I want to see somebody else. I don't know who I want to direct it. I don't want Whedon touching it.
I can guarantee you there's not a chance of that happening anymore.
I don't want Whedon anywhere near this crap. Keep him away. But I feel like Snyder is like one of those people that, everybody knows that person, the ideas person, but that's not who you necessarily want executing said ideas. I feel like he's the idea guy. Like he's the one to be like, idea. Okay, now do something with it. And then somebody a little bit more polished can come along and actually realize those ideas in a way that makes sense to the audience and makes sense to the creative direction. So that's my
for sure.
feel.
I agree with you, Liana. I love, because one of my problems with Superman as a hero is he is the Boy Scout, right? And that addition of Lois is the wild card and can make or break him. And to this day, they have not given Henry Cavill much to work with that character. They I think he has the chops to do something really great with it. And movie after movie, they hamstring him in a way that, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe it's partially
he's only had one movie to himself.
Yeah,
they treat him
movie.
Yeah.
So
they treat him like how Hollywood for a long time has treated women. They treat him as beefcake.
Yeah.
That's all he's there for, is stand there, look pretty. That's enough. And that's why I think he does so well in The Witcher, because I feel like Lauren Hissrich did a really good job of being like, this character.
Mm-hmm.
You're a fan of this character.
Yeah.
If you see an area that it can be improved, run with it. We're 100%. Good. They gave him the freedom. I agree with you. I think that's a really good point. If they would have given him just a little bit more freedom with that character, because he's a huge dweeb.
Well, speaking of having the freedom to play a character, I feel like we're talking around the Joker.
Oh, we'll get to him. Hold on, we will get to him.
I thought that was like the dessert, like the final.
I have thoughts. We'll get to that, but that's why I'm with you, Liana. I went from being excited about the DCEU away from Snyderdom, right, to now wanting more from that, because I think getting that Injustice style storyline where Superman is now completely gone rogue will give him the opportunity, right, to prove that he is not just the beefcake, he's not just the hottie, right? I think that's something that would be really fascinating to watch him with some emotional depth, more so than we've seen so far.
I scared of him as an actor. It makes me sad.
I will say that I kind of disagree, and I think it's because I've been rewatching so much Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, where it's made me reappreciate Boy Scout Superman, because that's really what that character is at the end of the day. I never liked, one of the reasons I don't like Man of Steel is I hate the idea of we had to kill his father because he's a superhero, so he has to have a dead parent or a family member.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, it's like
that too.
One of the things about DC is that, or with Superman, is that is because of his relationship with his parents, and that it's good, and that they're the thing that keeps him grounded.
For sure.
And so to try to darken him up, and it's he doesn't need that. You have Batman for that. Just let him be
That's fair.
You can write that. I think Captain America is a good example. You can write a Boy Scout character that still has depth and can be interesting. And so I've always been annoyed with the Snyder-ish version of Superman for that. So I'm kind of over evil Superman at this point because of the Injustice series and stuff. It's I've seen enough rogue Superman, and maybe last year being a hellhole also has made me man, I just want hopeful Superman.
Fair.
And
to your point to that though, do you feel like, because my thing isn't necessarily the evil Superman versus the Boy Scout Superman, because I like both, to be honest. I like the Boy Scout Superman because that feels organically Superman. I like the evil narrative just because I see potential, but the potential to go very wrong. But for me, my kind of, and I have an issue with Superman too, not because he took an evil route or whatever, but it's for me, it's on a scene by scene basis. I feel, and I think that's, I don't know if, I don't want to put words in your mouth, Alex, but for me, when I was saying I feel like they didn't give him enough freedom, I'm talking frame by frame. I'm talking it doesn't even seem like this dude was allowed to even look in a certain direction without somebody being like, no, do it at a 45-degree angle, not 46. It just seemed so overly controlled. Yeah, we can't get your jawline if you're pointing this way. We need to see those jaws and them cheeks, and we need to see all the cheeks, and we need to make them clap. And I just feel like there's a way to be the Boy Scout Superman and still have him be a character that is not a cardboard cutout. This trope that a good guy is not interesting is so overdone. I think you hit the nail on the head. Captain America is a perfect example of how the good guy character can be Why am I yelling? The good guy character. I've had a lot of coffee.
The audio levels are still good, so keep it going.
But like, I feel like, you know, there is a way to do a good character. And I feel like if you're not conveying that a good character can be interesting, that's on you. Like, as the director, as the writer, as the cinematographer, like, it is your job to pull that out of the actor, because I don't think that everybody criticizes Henry's performance, but I don't think that's on him, because he has proven he is a good actor.
I've never really minded him.
Yeah.
Like he himself as Superman, I've never really had a problem with.
I think it's, I 100% I think it's the writing, and he hasn't had a great script to work with yet.
Like, just let him be Boy Scout Superman. Like, I don't like, between New 52 Superman and Injustice and stuff, I'm a little bit tired of Superman with an edge.
I haven't read the New 52 stuff with Superman, but yeah, I guess quickly, my theory is that it's the uncut stuff, it's the Snyder vision, right? I think they left that in because I think they're testing the waters to see if there's interest in this storyline anymore. I think
I can see it.
They put this out there, right? They have access to all the numbers, everyone who's interested in watching. And I think they have an opportunity to continue that with Flashpoint, with what comes next with the Flash movie, right? Because we are going to start to get into the different multiverse stuff, right? Yeah. So there is a chance that, like, going forward here, if the Snyder following, cults, whatever you want to be called, is vocal in that they want this story to continue, like, maybe we do see that, because there was the rumors that Cavill was coming back. There's rumors that I think Ta-Nehisi Coates was going to write a Superman movie. Like, there's a lot up in the air that we don't know, and I think a lot of that is because they want to see, like, how this does. Which will probably be well. I can't imagine this doesn't blow them away viewership wise. So I want to see what comes from that. Here's what I don't want to see, and this is me segueing into the Clown Prince of Crime. I actually didn't despise Jared Leto's Joker in Suicide Squad. I thought, once again, he needed more time to show what that character was. Watching this, and especially on the coattails of Hamill, Ledger, even Joaquin Phoenix, I never need to see Jared Leto as Joker again. I thought it was...
We never need to see Jared Leto at all. To be honest, what does he do is that's a value. His music sucks. His acting sucks. From what I hear, he's a shitty person. Like,
which band is he from again?
You probably need to cut that.
30 Seconds to Mars.
Yeah, I like 30 Seconds to Mars, but now I don't know. Okay. I don't know anything anymore. Yeah,
his Joker in this, I liked it a little bit more than I did in the Suicide Squad, and but yeah, I think his Joker is like the embodiment of, like, the worst things about Zack Snyder's artistic vision at times. It just feels like he's trying way too hard to be, like, artsy weird, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know if that's describing it well, but yeah, like, I was like, it feels like he's trying to be Joker, and I don't really feel like he is Joker.
And I got notes of, like, of Jared Leto trying to be Jim Carrey when Jim Carrey was trying to be Andy Kaufman trying to be the Joker. Like, it's just bizarre. Yeah. Like, I get wanting it. I can't imagine the pressure of trying to play that character. Now, I hope
Jared Leto wasn't picking fights with Jerry Lawler backstage.
He would lose that one for sure.
I heard just horror stories about him on set, and just, I don't know, it's kind of hard. I have a really hard time rating life from from fiction,
from artists, for sure. Yeah,
and that's on me. That's not their fault at all. Like, I need to be better at that, and I can recognize that. But, like, for me, the problem is, and this is kind of the gripe I have with most representations of Joker, is a lot of times, and that this was my problem with Suicide Squad. Suicide Squad to me had the makings of being a perfect movie. If we got a Snyder cut of that, I guarantee you it would be good.
No, don't say that, Liana. Don't say that.
They've talked about it. Like,
yeah.
I would love to. We are getting the James Gunn cut.
Yeah.
I would love to see an uncut version, because they had a lot of good ideas, but it was so convoluted because they were cramming too much into once. They were trying to achieve what Marvel did over a course of movies in one movie, and you just can't do that. That's not the format. But for me, the problem I had with his version of the Joker was... and you saw this with an echo of just the reminiscing parts of Birds of Prey, is they oversimplify his character. And like Joker is, I know I keep saying this word too, but like take a shot every time you hear it. But every time, he is such a nuanced character. He has so many layers to him. He has the comedic, the crazy, but he also has the maniacal, like the manic phase of we got to do this. And then he has those quiet moments of reflection that really show the genius of this character. And I think to me, that's why Heath Ledger's iteration of Joker is so widely beloved, because he did capture the comedic aspect of his personality, but he also captured perfectly the genius of his personality and the genius of the creation of the character. And me saying genius is not saying he is a good character. He is not a morally good character, and he never will be.
He's not a morally good character, but he's a great,
well-written
character. Yeah.
Well-written. And I feel like the Snyder version of Joker got a little bit closer to that, but in true Snyder fashion, Snyder's like the person that when they make a funny joke and they're like, oh, people like it, he'll make the same joke 20 other times, and it's like, okay, well, you killed it, kid. He's the person like Michael Bay with explosions. Like, the first time was cool, dude. We don't need to do it 20 times. And for me, what really bothered me about this Joker iteration was I was actually interested. I was like, oh, he's more mild-mannered. He's calculating. Okay, I'm intrigued. Let me see more. And then he did that stupid laugh like 50 times.
Oh
like,
my God.
The first time he did it, right? The first time he did it was perfect. The first
like
time
this
I was
weird
like, ooh.
Mars Attacks laugh.
Right? And the first time he did it, I was like, ooh, it's so bad. It's so bad, it's good. I like it. And then he kept doing it. And then kept doing it. And then the ending sequence, when he starts walking away, he's like, and I'm like, we know. Yeah. You don't need to be laughing here. We know. You revel in the character. Like, it was so unnecessary. It's like, dude, you should have just let it lie. That one laugh would have solidified, and we would have got it, man. We would have got you vinted. You don't need to doing it.
And that is such an iconic character, and people who have done iconic takes on that. I don't envy someone trying to fill those shoes, those clown shoes, right? But it just didn't hit the mark like at all. And like I said, I didn't hate him in Suicide Squad because I wanted to see what that full vision of that. But this solidified it. I was like, thank you. We'll your check's at the door. Goodbye.
Your hair's too straight.
Yeah, what was with that? In the midst of it.
Could you see the hair like poking out of the side of the wig too? Like,
no.
It literally, when you wear a wig and if you put your hair in a bun, the wig will go like this.
Was he in a wig? He wasn't just...
It was a wig, and you could see the part where the wig cap was like coming out, and I was like, really? Like,
I'll have to go back and check that out. Yeah,
but
like his straight hair distracted me in a way. I was like, man, it's like, and for the apocalypse, man, he's right. He's got like a portable straightener or something.
I feel like this is one of those instances too where is the actor ruins it, because the problem with Leto is not even that he's just a douchebag, because douchebags are amazing, but like in terms of creative genius, but he thought he had it all figured out. Like, that was that was why he when people try to give him direction on Suicide Squad, he's like, no, I know who Joker is. And there's a difference between having a vision and working collaboratively versus being just arrogant. And he was very arrogant. And one thing you don't want to be with a community as passionate as DC fans is be arrogant about a character that you don't know. And he doesn't know Joker. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and you don't know him.
Yeah, it just felt too try-hardy. He just came off more like a hipster rock star that decided to be Joker for like a rave or something like that.
It's a new 30 Seconds from Mars music video.
Yeah. And I think Joker is easily one of the best comic characters when handled right. I don't need to see him much more. I feel like I'm hitting a level of fatigue with that character. The only reason I want to see him on a silver screen in the next 5 years is if Pattinson's Joker or Pattinson's Batman is going against Joaquin's Joker. That I think that would be an electric meeting of actors that would warrant seeing him again. But I think Hollywood people need to go read the Scott Snyder, Greg Capullo run on Joker, because if you talk about a menacing, not even character but force of nature, there's few times I've read a comic book and been genuinely like unnerved and scared. Scott Snyder's run on that Endgame Batman series made me terrified of Joker, and I need to feel that again. Which
he's a rapist, he's a murderer, he's psychotic,
he's a freak.
He's a freak.
And
he's evil I feel like a lot of these enemies and evil characters, they're like one-dimensionally evil. what's scary about Joker is he's evil on levels you can't even fathom. Unless you two are sociopathic, you can't even begin to fathom the level of depravity that he has, which is what makes him so I mean, I'm a white girl, so we all like serial killers. That's what we do. We're basic. We like to chill and watch serial killer documentaries. That's what we do. But like that, like he is a serial killer. Yeah. He has that mind of he adapts to the surroundings around him. If he feels like the manic side of his personality will get the most fear, he'll run with that. If he thinks the calculating side of his personality will he'll run with that. And that level of just depravity is not captured in film. It's just not. Heath Ledger is the closest we've gotten. And look what it did to him. That destroyed his mental health. Yeah. Like as a character, as an actor, it killed him. And like, that's kind of the level of depravity you have to get to in order to actually understand this character, which makes him very dangerous and very intriguing. And picking up the rock star arms just because he says he wants to do it.
Yeah.
Please.
So I guess, but then at the end of the day, I guess none of this really matters. Because I get to that.
I mean, yeah, like I said, I think they're using this as a test case. I don't think we'll ever see Jared Leto's Joker again, regardless, even if they were to pick the Nightmare storyline up. I think he's done.
He's burned that bridge. Yeah. Didn't he like flip out on the leadership over there? I stopped tuning.
I remember he flipped out over the Joker film, like that he wasn't
a part of. Yeah.
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 I think we're kind of off track now, but that's okay. Overall, I guess the frustration for me with the Endgame stuff was because I didn't know if we're going to get more of that, and I wanted more, and that's not something I expected to come out of this with. So,
I don't think they are, honestly. The way it wraps up, I think they got it out of their system here.
Oh, you think this is done?
Well, I mean, can we jump to like this being a dream?
I mean, yeah, it's a vision, right? Like, I think that's what they're setting. Like, this could be.
It made it frame it like it was a regular dream, like, because it ends with Bruce waking up the bed and just like, that was weird. And so I was like, is that their way of wrapping this up? Because they're like, maybe there were plans for this, but because they're like, Snyder's not doing any more films, right?
As far as we know,
like, he's like, I got this footage of this nightmare sequence that I wanted to use. What if I just use it here as like a weird dream?
And that could easily be.
To not actually set up anything, because it's like, because then the whole time I was like, I don't know why Batman would think recruiting Joker for anything would be a good idea, but okay. So yeah, I was like, I guess that's how I took it. It's like maybe they're just kind of like using it up here,
showing you what could have been, and that's entirely possible. We don't know what we don't know. But I think those threads are 100% there if they decide to really like go wild with like Flash's movie.
For sure.
We'll see.
I felt like they were setting it up. I got the vibe, but I feel like I also misunderstood a lot, so I don't want to.
No, I think you're right. I think in the original world where Zack stays on without the unfortunate, really sad passing of his daughter, I think that is what they're building to, right? The Infinity War, the team is broken, the big bad has won type of conflict that would fit well in this bleaker universe, right? But I think like I said, that's why I feel like it's in there to be like, this is what could have happened, or still could if you watch these movies 8 times. You know,
for
if
the
you
love of God, people are staying alive.
Subscribe to HBO Max now.
God, Lois Lane needs to be under 24-hour surveillance. Do not let anything happen to that girl.
Oh my God. Yeah. I don't know. It felt like a vision to me. I'd be interested, but like I said, I don't want to see Snyder. I feel like Snyder doesn't have control that he needs. He doesn't have discipline. I will say that. He doesn't seem to have the discipline needed, proper direction. He's like me when I do a review and Joe's like, oh my God, Anna, like a review doesn't need to be 8,000 words. It's supposed to be like under 1,000. And I'm like, no, but I had all these thoughts.
This is my magnum opus.
He needs a Joe Juba in his life.
Yeah.
Don't we all?
He needs a Joe Juba. Yes.
Well, friends, do we have any final thoughts on the Snyder Cut? We're almost hitting Snyder Cut levels of length on this one.
I liked it. I liked it much more than the original version. I liked it more than I expected to. It still has its problems, but I had a lot more fun watching this than I I kind of wrote this off. I expected this to kind of be a different kind of train wreck, and it really wasn't.
No.
So, well done,
Liana.
Yeah, I really liked it too. I didn't like it because in and itself it was good, but I liked it for the perspective and the light that it shined on the original. It really, really highlighted, because we all knew the original was wrong, but other than just not liking it, there was a lot of like unanswered questions of why exactly was it wrong. And I feel like the Snyder Cut really highlighted the exact issues and really showed the world like, no, you're not just mindlessly hating on Joss Whedon. He actually doesn't know what the hell one day, but he just actually doesn't know what the hell he's doing, and it shows. And I feel like this was the spotlight to kind of put that final nail in his coffin and be like, keep him away from our stuff. We don't want him in our nerd shit anymore. Yeah. Keep him out.
I echo all the sentiments of you guys. I am utterly shocked at how much I enjoyed this. I think this is Snyder's probably third best movie, which I did not expect coming out of that to say, behind 300 and Watchmen. And
I like this more than Watchmen.
Oh, do you? I love Watchmen.
I'm not a big Watchmen guy.
Oh, I used to read that book every year. Anyways, it has an emotional depth now that I was able to connect with. I think Cyborg needs his own movie. I want give me a Teen Titans movie. Let's get it popping. I'm rewatching Teen Titans now. It's a thing. But is this my favorite Batman version of Batman? No. But I think there's a lot of good things in this movie, and is a genuine surprise that I did not feel like was coming. So, shout out, I'm happy for Zach and his family that he was able to really get out what he wanted from this and show people that, he wasn't crazy. He knew what he was doing. So,
you never have to release a Snyder Cut ever again, which is the best news about all this.
I think Liana kickstarted the release the Suicide Squad, the David Ayer cut, or whoever directed that. Anywho, thank you so much for joining me, you two. I really appreciate it. We've taken up a lot of your time. Comments, we love the good ones, the respectful ones, so leave them below. I'm curious to hear what other people think of this. It is a spoiler cast, so I'm okay with seeing spoilers out there. Anyways, sorry, I just got a text. Thank you so much for watching. You can follow us on GameInformer.com for some of the best written work in the industry, period. You can watch us at YouTube.com/GameInformer. We have a really great month of coverage with Deathloop. So definitely be sure to check out the awesome work Alex Van Aken is doing with that. Until the next Snyder Cut, it's been my pleasure. We'll see you next time. Thanks, everyone.